After listening to this story, you'll want to check your closet. This story happened when I was about 7 years old. I was visiting family's house. Decided to stay for the weekend. The weather was bad. So I was told I could share a room with a cousin of mine. He had a set of bunk beds in his room. So I decided to flip a coin with him and ended up sleeping on the top bunk. I was a little worried that I might roll over during the night and fall down, since it was a strange place to me, and it wasn't my bed, so I was a little worried. So the first night wasn't too bad. I heard a lot of strange, unusual noises, like the sound of dragging footsteps outside in the hall, but I was too scared to investigate, so I figured it'd probably be my aunt or uncle or someone else just walking down the hallway. So the next day was fun. Spent the day out on the farm, running around, enjoying the weather, enjoying the country. Sometime during the afternoon, I decided to go into the room and get a pair of socks. The ones I had got dirty from all the playing around in the dirt. So I went back up the stairs and went down the hall, opened the door to the room, walked in, went to my little suitcase, pulled out a pair of socks, sat on the bottom bunk, cleaned off the dirt on my feet, and put my socks on. I noticed the closet was slightly opened. So after I was done, I got up and locked the door. I left the room, went back outside, played with my cousins, and enjoyed the rest of the day. Now, the second night was the one that scared me the most. As I lay there trying to fall asleep, I turned over and I looked towards the closet door, and I just had this uneasy feeling. It was an old door that had been painted like a blue color, but it was chipped, kind of a worn out look. So I continued looking at it, and it just felt weird. Felt like I was being watched. So, being the young kid that I am, I got under the covers and pulled a blanket over my head. I didn't want to say anything to my cousin. I didn't want to seem like a scaredy cat. So I remained under the covers for a little while until I got the courage to lift the blanket up slowly and take a look. And that's when I saw that the closet had opened up slightly. It really freaked me out, so I got under the covers again and thought somebody was in that room or hiding in that closet. I wanted to yell for my parents, but I'm not sure they could hear me. They were further on down the hall. So I kept calling for my cousin to wake up, and finally he did. I said, "Hey, Peter, wake up, wake up." So Peter woke up and said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "I think there's someone in the closet." He goes, "No, there's nobody in the closet, man. Go back to sleep." Peter was a little older than me. He was around 12 at the time. I said, "Yeah, but I noticed that the closet door has opened since the last time I looked at it." He said, "Yeah, well, maybe the boogeyman's in there." And of course I freaked out and I couldn't sleep. Finally, I gave in, ended up falling asleep. And when I woke up in the morning, the first thing I did was peek under the covers and or rather through the covers, and saw that the closet door was closed again. I looked over and Peter was still asleep. So I got up, slowly walked towards the closet door. I rattled the handle a little bit. I got the courage to open the door up suddenly, and the only thing in there were Peter's clothes, some boxes with some toys, and some other belongings of his. But it just felt so strange. I felt like I was being watched the whole night. Well, it was a new day now. I was happy because it was going to be the last night there. I had not said nothing to my parents. I didn't want to freak them out, and I just wanted it to get over and done with. So, day went by, had a great lunch with the family, played around, played lots of games, heard lots of cool stories, ate a lot of good food. And then as the sun was going down, I started to get this eerie feeling come over me. So when the time came to go to sleep, I asked my parents if I could stay up with them a little longer. And of course they said no. So they sent me up to the room, and at this point Peter was not there yet. So I tried to buy some time and lingered around until they finally got fed up with me, and my dad brought me upstairs and said, look, just stay here and go to sleep. They normally would play cards at night, so they wanted their privacy. I was really scared. I was alone up there. I was wondering where Peter was and what was taking him so long. So I just went through my little suitcase and packed my stuff up a little bit, anticipating to leave the next day. Glad that it was going to be over. I still had this weird feeling again that someone was in that closet, so I stood up, walked towards the closet, turned the handle, opened the door really slow. And same thing, just clothing and some boxes and some toys and games. Nothing unusual. So I said to myself, you know what, you're making yourself scared. It's all in your head. There's nothing in there. I'd explain it being open the other night, so I thought maybe it could have been the wind, or you know how these old doors can be. So finally Peter comes up, and I was really happy. And he says, all right, dude, we're gonna shut the light off and call it a night. He says, we'll see you in the morning. So I hopped into bed, put the covers over my head, and then I turned over on my side, and through the covers I was peeking through to see if the closet door had opened. So nothing happened. I couldn't go to sleep though, I wasn't tired. And then somehow Peter started having a dream of some sorts, and he started making weird noises, and I said, hey Pete, what's going on? You sound funny. And he kept mumbling and making these weird sounds. So anyway, I just let it be, and he stopped. Then all of a sudden the closet door opened a few inches, and I froze. I held my breath. I felt paralyzed. And this weird light was coming out from the closet. I was intrigued, but at the same time I was scared. So I watched. And out from the closet came this odd, smoky shape, what looked like a small person. And it moved off to the side of the closet near the table. Peter had a small table with some things on it there. And it stood there, and it just started looking around the room. So I slowly put the blanket over my face a little more so it wouldn't see me. and it started walking around the room. And at this point, I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I felt like my voice had gone. And suddenly, Peter starts yelling out, "Help me, help me." And I thought he was awake, so I pull off the blanket and I said, Pete, wake up. And suddenly this thing standing there is looking at me. I'm looking at it. We're both freaking out because it looks surprised. I'm surprised. I look over, Peter's still mumbling and whatnot. He's actually still sleeping. He hasn't woken up. I don't know what to do at this point. I want to jump off the bunk bed, run past that door and run down the hall, yell for my parents, but I could not do that. I was frozen. So this figure, this apparition, starts to slowly walk towards the window. It takes a look outside the window and suddenly cuts over to the side and looks at me. And I'm thinking this thing's coming for me. So I'm just grabbing onto that blanket really tight. And I'm just waiting, anticipating the next move. And suddenly it darts towards the closet. Back in, and the door closes shut. I jumped off the bed really quick. Out the door, I went down the hall, started banging on the door. My mom got up. My father also got up. I think I woke up the whole house. And they all came running out and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "There's someone that just came out of the closet. He was standing there looking at me. He walked towards the window. He looked out the window, saw me, and then ran right back inside." So my mom got really freaked out. So my dad walks in, opens the closet door. He says, "There's nothing in here." Peter's asleep the whole time, by the way. So his mom comes over, wakes him up, and he says, "Whoa, what's going on in here?" And his mom said, "Your cousin just had a bad dream." And I said, "No, I wasn't dreaming. I actually saw something." And then Peter took a lot of interest all of a sudden and said, "What did you see?" And I explained to him what I saw. A small ghostly apparition that slowly opened the door, walked past, walked towards the window, noticed me, stopped, took a quick glance out the window, looked back at me, and then ran back into the closet.